We are now talking to the Golden Knights goaltending prospect, Dylan Ferguson. What's going on, Dill?
Sorry, I was muted, boys.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm doing good. It's good to be back for sure. How are you guys?
Well, we got a little older. I'm 40 now. I mean, not your age, that's for sure. You're still a youngster like Speedy. How old are you, Dill?
I'm 23 now. 24 in September.
Yeah, Speedy's going to be 27. I mean, you guys are kids, so you're up and coming, and I can't wait to see you eventually get your call up in the NHL. You deserve it, and I've been keeping tabs on you over the last year. I've been keeping tabs on with the whole COVID situation, but you've been slowly but surely growing over there on their farm system, their AHL team. How you been? I mean, how you feel with the whole COVID situation? Where do you see yourself moving forward with the Golden Knights?
Yeah, I mean, obviously right now I am a RFA. Right now, really just training hard back home, being ready for whatever comes my way, and that's really my focus right now. Just be ready and do the best when I get back there.
As everybody knows, we are talking to Golden Knights goaltending prospect Dylan Ferguson. So before we get into everything that's gone on over the last couple of years with you, what are your thoughts to the Golden Knights? They didn't make the playoffs this year. They have a tremendous, talented team from top to bottom, from the first, second, third, even in the fourth line. Very talented. They made a trade for Eichel early in the season. So, what are your thoughts to where this team is going after this really, really shocking season where they didn't make the playoffs?
Yeah, I think all the pieces are there. I think the organization in a whole just had some tough luck with injuries and things like that, and with guys coming in and out and multiple times a year, really, a couple guys just things lingering across the season, and that can be tough on a team, especially when you're trying to mold new guys together in a roster. And I think that might have been something that was a bit of adversity for the Golden Knights this year, but I think moving forward, they're an organization that makes the most out of adversity. So.
Yeah, there were also the ones that make a lot of big swings. We saw he was talking about Eichel. We also saw them make a big splash coaching-wise. Bruce Cassidy hiring them after he got fired by the Bruins. So what were your thoughts with that? And were you surprised he got fired and a lot of these coaches are being available?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of change going on around the NHL as a whole right now. Like you were saying, Bruce Cassidy, Barry Trotz, all these big names that are finding new homes and maybe not yet. But, I think it's a great fit for the organization and Bruce Cassidy. He's a great defensive coach. You look at the way Boston plays, they don't give a lot and they make a lot of chances. So that's, I think, something that the roster that Vegas Golden Knights have is going to thrive with.
After watching some of these goaltenders play in the playoffs still, you watch, obviously, Shesterkin. He looked fabulous in the second and third round. The Rangers went all the way as far as they did. Nobody would have thought they were going to the Eastern Conference Finals. You have, obviously, Vasilevskiy, who has been to back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals. He's been one of those goaltenders that you really look up to because of the talent that he really brings out there, especially in the big game. And even some of the younger goaltenders that you've seen over the last couple of years grow in position. What are your thoughts about the goaltending position in the NHL? And what player, what goaltender really sticks out to you, not only this year, but for the last 2 or 3 years that you want to look up to, where you see yourself trying to be and match to that talent?
Yeah, no, good question. I think, just to touch on what you said first there, I think the goaltending in the NHL right now is improving every year, as are the players. And there's always been that battle between figuring out what the goalies are learning and what the players are learning and all these new things coming into the game. Like you see things like the Michigan and these kind of things when they first happen. Goalies are just lost and don't know what to do or what happened, and these kind of things are going to continue to happen as the game keeps growing. And these young kids, especially coming up into the NHL, are super creative. You look at a guy like Trevor Zegras, right? So he's doing things that are no one's seen yet, and we goalies just try to keep up with that and get any advantage we can. On the other side of that, I'm a big Vasilevskiy fan. Obviously, he's a winner, and that's what I look up to. He's 27, 28 years old and already has 2 rings. And I personally think he's the best goalie in the world. I know he didn't win the Vezina this year, but what that guy's done in that organization and, his stats in elimination games. I don't know if you've seen them, but it's like 98% save percentage.
It's ridiculous.
Out of this world, right? So he's someone I definitely look up to.
So a lot has been made recently, especially with the young goalies, of the goaltender platoons. Unless you're like a Shesterkin or a Vasilevskiy or Connor Hellebuck or something like that, we've seen a lot of coaches try to load manage those goalies, especially some young ones. Do you think that's a good thing for the goalies, or do you think that's something that they should be playing more often?
It's a good question. I think there's an open communication between a starting goalie and their the staff around them and the coaching staff. I think, if we want to talk about a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury, and it's different situation, but like a guy like Robin Lehner, who I know wants to play every single night, and there's just sometimes things get in the way, and all those guys in the NHL want to play every night, and a lot of the times it's not the player making the decision, it's the coaching staff.
As everybody knows, we are talking to Golden Knights goaltending prospect Dylan Ferguson. He's been on the show before. We haven't had him on for about a year and a half, but we have him on again. So we're talking a little Golden Knights hockey and some NHL hockey with him. Dill, when you look at the league and the way the league has transitioned into more of a defensive-minded league, remember, it went over the last couple of years, they changed the rules. They want to make the game even more faster and more goal-scoring. If you watch the playoffs this year, besides the Edmonton Avalanche series, there wasn't really a lot of goals in a lot of these series. It was more the league is really trying to transition into that defensive style of game that we remember. I don't know about the trap when the Devils played or the Florida Panthers played, but they're trying to change the game where it's less scoring in the playoffs. And do you see it that way, or have you seen, besides that Edmonton Oilers Avalanche game series, you still think the game has become more faster and more offensively sound?
I think both ends really have. And I think, as series go on, you can look past, like, historically, those big games at the end in the Stanley Cup Finals and all that are usually low scoring, and they're really close games. And it's just the way it's been. What we hear growing up as hockey players is defense creates offense. And I think that's something that's really the message is given, especially when big things are on the line like that. And I think, kind of comparing to what I talked about with goaltending and players in general, has the same thing with defense and offense. You're going to have the offensive players trying to learn something new. The defensive players got to learn how to stop it and transition back to create offense.
One of the other trends with goaltending has been the bigger goaltenders are getting a lot more of a chance than we saw the smaller, more athletic goalies, guys like Henrik Lundqvist in the past that really came in and grew like that. So do you think that kind of trend will continue, or do you see it where the NHL kind of shifts more back towards the quicker, more athletic goalies?
I think there's a pretty good mix right now, and I think at the end of the day, if you're good enough, you're going to be there. If you keep the puck out of the net, like you look at a guy like UC Saros, who I think is one of probably top 5 to 10 goalies in the league. He's maybe 6 feet tall, and there's just guys like that who have this talent and they keep the puck out of the net. And at the end of the day, for me, that's all that matters.
That's what made Dominic Hasek and John Van Beesbroek so special. John Van Beesbroek, I saw him at the draft a couple of years ago. I'm taller than him. He's 5'9", and this guy was mining the pipes all those years as a dominant goalie. Took his Florida Panther team all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals against that Avalanche dominant team, and obviously lost in 4 games. But who would have thought that he 5'9" goaltender would have led a team, and he was a dominant force. So goaltenders, and he even told me goaltending has completely changed in the league. It's become, if you're not a 6'2", 6'3" guy, you're not making the NHL unless you're something special. Somebody that is just athletically sound, reflexes are unbelievable. He says it's just those guys just don't exist anymore. So when you look at the league and now with the different pads that they have, I mean, the gloves are bigger, just everything about the goaltender is bigger. Do you think that makes the goaltender better, or does that make the goaltender slower?
They actually look bigger because they made our chest protectors and pants smaller.
Right.
It's kind of an interesting one. I kind of like it because I feel like you can move better, but at the same time, there's more room in that 6-hole, under the arms, that kind of thing, kind of right between the gloves. And when that first happened, it was definitely something I had to get used to, change my stance a little bit. But I think overall for me, in my experience, it's been, I guess, more free range of motion for me is what I like. But at the same time, you got to cover more net. So I feel like there's a good balance there.
So from the last time we had you on to now, you've actually played 2 seasons in the AHL with the the Golden Knights top affiliate, the Henderson Silver Knights. You also played a year in Fort Wayne as well. So what are some of the big differences you notice between the AHL, the top level of those minor leagues, as in comparison to the other leagues you played in?
Yeah, I mean, so last year was my first full year with Henderson. The year before I really only played 1 or 2 games, and then I got sent down to Fort Wayne. And, for me, it's my job's to go in there and stop the puck. I'm not trying to see what teams are doing or certain things like that. I'm a bit of a video guy, and I can pick up on players and what they do. But, when I'm in the net, my job is to stop the puck. And I think if it's the AHL, the NHL, or the East Coast League, obviously players are smarter and have better releases as you go up. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest differences between the league is just general hockey IQ and just strength and power. I think those are going to be the 3 biggest things. I guess speed as well, of course. But, you go like the AHL and the NHL are somewhat comparable. And then you go to the East Coast and they call it the jungle where, there's one ref and, there's stuff going on all the time. Guys are fighting. And I was in there and actually, led my team all the way to the Kelly Cup final and won that year. So that was a heck of a run and a lot of fun there, and grateful for that. And yeah, last year in the AHL was a great time too, aside of a couple injuries.
As everybody knows, we're talking to Golden Knights goaltending prospect Dylan Ferguson. So, Dill, where do you see yourself? I mean, obviously you're still young. You're 23 years old. You're still growing in the position. You have a lot of time. Do you see yourself getting that call up one of these days where you'll get the chance to play in your first NHL game?
I see myself in the NHL. Like that's my goal. That's where I want to be, right? And that's the mindset, I have and like to have, because that pushes me, if it's the extra 5% in the gym, finishing that 3 more reps or whatever it is, right? And I'm a big believer in, visualization stuff. So if I'm seeing that and that's what I want to be and do, I feel like I will get there.
So I know you were up for the one game we mentioned on your last interview. You were up for the one game in 2018, but besides that, in terms of like a full-time thing, when you get to Vegas, if you end up getting called up there, is there any one player that you're looking forward to? Like, I guess not necessarily meeting, you might have met them all already, but like getting close to, talking to. Who would that be and why?
Yeah, so I was up there for a bit of time for sure this year, just helping out with practice. I backed up a few games this year. They're all great guys. At this point, it's, obviously talking to Lenny and talking to these goalies that have been in the NHL, and, the players don't really do it for me. It's, to me, they're just another guy. But when I look at a guy like Robin Lehner or the Marc-Andre Fleury's, the last time we talked, I know we brought over that. The first time I was ever on NHL ice, I had Henrik Lundqvist right beside me on the other side of the red line. Things like that are that's where I get maybe a little starstruck, but I want to learn from these people and, ask them as many questions as I can.
Did you know that Robin Leonard is a big snake fan?
Oh yeah. No, this guy, loves exotic animals. I know that.
Yeah, he's a snake.
It's awesome.
It's so funny because, well, it's not funny. There was a story that Robin Leonard was going to buy a snake store from, I forget where it was. This guy had all these like crazy snakes, and he was selling it to Robin for like $1.5 million, and then his wife and some man killed him, and he decided not to. There was talks that he was still thinking about buying the snake store, but I heard that story, and then I found out that Robin actually loves exotic steaks and all that stuff. So I was very surprised when I heard that story. By the way, we
should go home and go hang out with Joe Madden.
It's crazy.